boys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. This week we have a three-way First Division review show. I'd like to welcome back Gavin, Cork City fame. How are you, Gav?
Hi Keith, how are you?
And Sean Lean. People may remember him from the match fan reactions, Waterford United fan. You're very welcome, Sean.
It's good to be back, Keith.
Welcome, Sean. Good to see you.
Thanks, Gav.
Guys, Gavin, we'll start with Cork City. Where else would we start? Look, a 2-1 win and, a tight-ish game. And they have been like that with Cobh and Cork, particularly the last two games. Hegarty opened the scoring after 50 minutes. Probably had Cork quaking in their boots. Rory Keating equalised on the hour mark. And then he doubled the lead on 80 minutes to get a 2-1 victory. As I said, a tight game score-wise. Were Cork dominant, or does the score suggest it was a tight game?
Oh, it was very tight, Keith. The score suggests that City got out of jail. That's what it suggests. Like, to be fair to Cobh, for the bones of an hour, like, they were on top in the game. There wasn't really much in it, but City were going nowhere in the game. Like, they were trying diagonal balls and it wasn't working from. And nothing really was working from it, just wasn't happening. I could see it being one of these nights where, to be fair to Cobh, as we said there, that in the previous games it's been tight. But this time, I think, to be fair to Shane Keegan, it was tight for the reason that Cobh were good. So I suppose, like, what Cobh need to learn is that when somebody equalises against them, they need to stop dropping their heads. They have this issue where they drop their heads. And in that spell, that 10, 15, 20-minute spell there, that's what happened. The game changed between the 60th and the 80th minute, as you said there, Keith. And if Cobh can learn from that, that's where they'll improve, for the rest of this season or next season. And that's where Shane Keegan will improve them, because, to be fair to Cobh, only for David Harrington, they could have been 2 or 3 up. So for City to get out of jail, it was a huge 3 points. And, like, obviously, I suppose, look, you know yourself, you wouldn't have expected Galway to drop points. So, like, it was a shock in that sense. It was a huge bonus because, to be honest, City got out of jail big time in that game.
Yeah, Sean, obviously Cork are now 7 points clear. And this league kind of makes lawyers out of a lot of us. We predicted that Waterford may be in the title race a couple of weeks ago, only for them to drop off. So 7 points. Do you think the title's gift wrap for Cork City now?
Yeah, it's theirs to lose at this stage. I mean, even if they lose the 2 tough games they have is, I think it's away to Galway and then away to us. Even if they still lose those games, there'll still be a point clear, and that's assuming that Galway win all of their games for the remainder of the season. As Gav said, I think they kind of got a bit lucky against Cobh, but at this stage of the season with so few games left, it really doesn't matter how you win them, as long as you win them. So I think it is their league to lose.
Yeah, Gav, you touched on Cobh. Shane Keegan, you'd be happy enough with the last 5 games. They've beaten Bray, they've drawn in Wexford, and although they've had 3 defeats, 2 of them against Cork City, 2 by the odd goal, he'll be happy enough with the progression he's made since he went in there.
Definitely, Keith. And, like, I remember I kind of said a couple of weeks ago there, Keith, I was saying, that when he started, like, he needs to leave the football, do the talking. And to be fair to him, like, they've 110% improved. They're a much better unit. They're gone to a 4-5-1. It suits him so much better. And he's after, like, I've been praising him as well. What I've seen in the last couple of games, Seanie McGrath, he was involved in the first goal. And he's actually very similar in size and everything to Jack Doherty with Wexford, low centre of gravity, turns really quickly on the ball, can play with both feet. And he's been, like, since they've got him into the team, it's been a huge plus for him, They had Pierce Phillips back in their first 11 as well, and himself and what's his name? Craig Abbott, I think is his name, him in the centre midfield, they done very well. And then, like, they took out, I think they took out Pierce Phillips because he was carrying an injury, and they brought in Luke Desmond, another beautiful left-footed player. There is only a young fella, he's only, I'd say, 19 or 20, and he done very well when he went into centre midfield as well. But I think Seanie McGrath is a huge plus for Cobh. I think I think if you're a Cobh supporter and he can stick with him, I think he'll be a great, for next season. I think that he's one of these players that will come on leaps and bounds. But Shane Keegan has him organised anyway, and even though their heads are down, I think they should keep their heads up and look back at the game. And as I said, we're being condescending, and it's coming from a City fan, but they should take a lot out of the other nights, out of Friday night's game, because they were very unlucky.
Cool, thanks for that. Galway against Bray. Let's be honest, probably the shock of the weekend, Sean. Bookmakers were offering Bray as high as 14-1 to win the game, and they came out 2-1 winners. Ben Feeney opened the scoring for Bray, and Colin Kelly. I'm not sure if either of you have seen the goal, but fantastic goal. Feeney done well in the midfield and played in Kelly, who against his former club as well. Tidy finish. This is after Galway had a penalty saved after 3 minutes. David Hurley, who's normally reliable from the spot, missed, and they got a second penalty in the 92nd minute. And Ronan Manning put that away. But Bray, Sean, didn't seem threatened for much of the game, and they were fully deserving of their win.
Yeah, I think so, because I thought the 2-1 scoreline, it was a bit flattering towards Galway. I think, to be fair to Bray, once they were 2-0 up, they kind of got the feeling that they didn't need to press anymore. And I think the main focus will be, this was a game that Galway lost. But to be fair to Bray, especially with the second goal, I thought they put together some really nice passages of play, and they probably deserved to win on the night. I suppose if you're a Galway fan, it's concerning, because this is not an isolated incident. They've really dropped off in the past few games. I think they've only won 2 of their last 6 games, not counting the Cobh game. And I worry, is it part of the tactical inflexibility? I think this is sort of the disadvantage of having a manager like John Caulfield, that when the tactics are Route 1 and they're very one-dimensional, it's easy to get players to play along with that. But when teams figure out how to play you could be in trouble, and especially towards this end of the season. Maybe they need to freshen things up.
Yeah, Gavin, just touching on John Caulfield, I know you know him quite well. Do you think he's in a little bit of trouble at Galway if they don't go up through the playoffs?
It's hard to tell, Keith, because the type of fella that he is,
given the investment they've had this season.
Yeah, I suppose, and I suppose, look, maybe it's one of these things. It could be like what I say about Cork City, that I think that a second year wouldn't be a bad thing with them in the first division. It might be the same with Galway with the investment that they've put in. Maybe they need a second year in the first division to try and gel together. I don't know, but he's the type of fella, John, that I suppose, if he feels somebody's against him, or if he feels things are turning, he's one of these fellas. He's not going to stay around. He won't. And I suppose, looking, I was kind of, keeping tabs on it when I was down in Coleman's Park, but he made 5 subs there between the 46th and the 66th minute. So obviously he kind of looked at it from a point of view and said, probably kind of in a situation, all right, obviously at least half the team haven't even shown up yet tonight.
I think that was desperation more so than anything, Gavin.
Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose, look, at 2-0 down, I suppose he's looking at it from that point, saying, this is a game, on paper, that we should probably have the game wrapped up after 45 minutes, to mind after 90 minutes. So then he's kind of turned around and saying, what will we do? But touching on what Sean said there as well, the strange thing about it is, I think City have been very one-dimensional too in the last couple of weeks, and I think that's why they dropped points against Treaty, because they were atrocious. And against Waterford, if they were still there tonight in Turner's Cross, they wouldn't have scored against Waterford, because they were doing the same thing over and over, and it wasn't happening. So maybe that's, in that sense, maybe that's what's wrong with Galway as well, or maybe it's just the fact it's coming down to the wire, and the two teams are feeling the pressure.
Yeah, so that leaves a 7-point gap at the top. As I said, Bray, fantastic results. No one expecting it. So fair play to all the players. Just mentioned Conor Clifford, Hughie Douglas, Ben Feeney, and Stephen McGuinness with penalty save as well were fantastic for Bray. So they'll be hoping that they can bring that type of form into the last couple of games of the season, Sean, just to give them a little bit more confidence going into next season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. It hasn't been the season Bray have wanted, but maybe these sorts of off the field issues, I got the feeling that maybe when I saw the result that the off the field issues in some way help to unite the squad, that maybe they should give the fans something to cheer for, and that could be the case. I mean, it's hard to know whether this merger will survive or whether there'll be a change in Bray again. But whatever the case, you always want to have a plan going forward, and if you have a core group of players that play for each other, play for the club, then that's something to build on. So, for the sake of Bray, I hope that this is something that they build on, because, as I said, with particularly the second goal, they're capable of playing good football.
Yeah, they certainly, and I've said it for a long time, they have players in that squad that can cause damage to teams, and it showed that on Friday. We'll move on to Lissy Woolen. I said the Bray result was probably the surprise of the weekend. Athlone turned Treaty over by 2-0. Probably another surprise, Gavin. We said this, myself and Keith, that Treaty, they were looking to cement their place in the playoff, and it didn't go their way. Thomas Alua and Adam Lennon scoring for Athlone, and let's be honest, Alua has been one of the surprise players of the season. I think that's his 8th league goal of the season. He's 5 behind Stephen Walsh, but to be scoring 8 goals for a team that's bottom of the table, it's quite impressive, and quite an impressive result for Athlone.
Oh, absolutely, Keith. And I suppose if you're looking at that, if he's after getting 8 goals from a team that probably don't create a lot, maybe one of the better teams, maybe one of the higher teams from Waterford City or Galway, he might one of these players that might step up to the plate. Sorry,
or Bray,
yeah. he might. It happens. Like we're a fellas like that, where you're kind of looking at him saying he's the standout player, and maybe he just come up to one of the better teams, and maybe he will improve. You never know, but. I mean, it's strange, that result, obviously, because like I said to you last week, Treaty tore City apart, and in Turner's Cross, they played them off the park, and they deserved all the credit they got in that game. And then they go 8 Athlone and lose 2-0. I mean, you as you say, you can't predict results anymore after that, But look, Athlone obviously will be delighted, and I mean it's. I mean, what price would you got in the bookmakers for Bray and Athlone last weekend for the two of them to get the results? You'd have a nice couple of bob in your pocket anyway after that,
Yeah, Sean, Treaty will see this as a missed opportunity, won't they? We'll discuss Wexford in a second, but they're still 4 points ahead. But they could have stretched their leads. Tommy Barrett would be disappointed in that result.
Yeah, and especially, as Gavin said, after doing so well in Turner's Cross, to go away to Athlone then and to perform really poorly. I suppose after Treaty's first season where they were so good, maybe this is sort of coming back down to earth. I tell you, and I know we're going to cover Wexford in a second, but with Treaty's form at the moment, you'd be less scared of them than you would be of Wexford if you came up against them in the playoffs. So it's really hard to know where they are as a team.
Yeah, it is. And Athlone, now they are 2 points behind Cobh, so that's a little battle between both of them to see who finishes with the wooden spoon. So fair play to Athlone. Just to mention, Enda Minogue, ex-Bray goalkeeper, started his first game for Athlone and kept a clean sheet. So well done, Enda. Fantastic result for you and your team. We'll move on to Saturday's game. Longford against Wexford. 1-0 to Longford here, Sean. Joe Manley with an OG against his former club. Look, Longford are now 3 points behind Waterford, albeit Waterford have a game in hand. And I know it's not going to really mess around with any playoff spots, but Longford are hitting a bit of form at the moment.
They are, and having seen them play in the RSC, there's nothing they do really exceptionally, but they just grind out results, and that's kind of what you need in the first division. Luke Dennison, I thought, he was exceptional on Saturday. Really, he won them the 3 points, and it's difficult to play against a team like that. I think, to be fair to Wexford, they did create enough that on another night they might have won, but it's kind of. That's kind of what Longford have been doing for a while now, and they've got some good results out of it. If this is the kind of stuff that you bring to the playoffs, I think you've got a really good chance at winning. To go back to Wexford for a second, and unlucky, obviously, but I still don't think this will be something that derails their season in any way. I think Ian Ryan will keep saying to his players, like we were were just unlucky tonight, lads, and that's it. We just have to go again next time. So that's it.
Yeah, so Wexford, Gavin, it's 4 league games without a win. They bet Sligo in the cup, but look, there's the lucky thing with them is they're still only 4 points behind Treaty in the playoffs. Now they were on a pretty good run of form. Obviously, with the 4 games that they haven't won, they'd be disappointed because if they had picked up a couple of more points, they'd be ahead of Treaty. So I know Sean is saying that will be telling the players just to keep on going, but will he be a little bit concerned with the form that they're in, particularly with only a couple of games left in the season?
Yeah, I suppose it's like I've said this, and I know I keep repeating myself sometimes, but when it comes to your form, it can be, you get into a rut where you get games where it's like winning and losing, but when you're losing games and you can't pick up points, you kind of, in a sense, like you start giving away own goals or stupid goals, and these bad habits start kicking in games. And I've noticed as well, there, Keith, as well, I've been looking at their line-out, Wexford, in the last couple of games with Jack Doherty. Hasn't been playing with him, so he must be carrying an injury. So obviously he's a huge loss to him. And like I said about him, it's like Thomas Alua with Athlone. Doherty seems to have that bit of extra talent in him, that he seems to create, opportunities for Wexford when he's playing. And obviously they're missing that link-up play. So I suppose from that point of view, they're looking at it and they're saying like this, we're losing games. And obviously, look, he's the difference as well when he's not in the team. So, they will be a bit worried about it. But look, I suppose the most important thing is try and get him back into the team and try and pick up points before the season ends.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Wexford. So, Gavin, are we calling it Cork City's title already? Yeah, we are, aren't we?
I never do, Keith. I never do, and I never will. Never will.
Sean, before we go, myself and Keith discussed it last week, but it'd be good to get a fan's perspective of the potential takeover that's happening at Waterford United. Let's go into it straight away. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, kind of apathetic at this stage because it's happened so many times. It's a strange thing to say for any club, but this is sort of was the 3rd change in ownership in 3 years. Not to be too down, it does seem like this new owner would bring a bit of financial muscle to the club, and there's obviously a network of clubs. So, maybe we benefit from having, if Fleetwood Town are looking at players they want to bring into the league in England, then maybe they'd come here first, so we might get a few talented players out of it too. There is a bit of legal trouble surrounding Pilley, but I'm not sure how big of a deal that is. I mean, we've dealt with shady characters before and it hasn't really put us off. But I suppose the main thing is just to get the deal done. That's really the only thing that I'd look at and say something's not right here, because it's taken a very long time since it was announced. The press conference that was on Tuesday, nobody reported on it, so that was really strange. I like to be optimistic. I like to think that as well that one of the things I would have said is that under Forrest that we had to get out of the first division this year because he hadn't planned with the investment he'd given. He hadn't planned for getting out. He hadn't planned for staying another year in the first division. So the arse could fall out of it then if that happened. With the new owner, maybe there's a plan that if things don't work out this year, we'll go again next year. We'll have a right crack at it. So I suppose to sum it up, I would be cautiously optimistic about the new ownership.
Cool, Gavin. Good thing for the league.
Yeah, I suppose what Sean is saying as well, and I suppose when we have a chat between ourselves two in the group, I suppose, look, I'm only speaking from the outside. I don't have a clue what's happening, but when you're being taken over again 3 years in a row, you're wondering what's the reasoning behind it. Is it kind of like is it kind of like a, how would you say it, like kind of a financial, somebody trying to prove their financial power trip sort of a thing? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't have a clue. But I suppose looking at it from a squad point of view, and I suppose obviously Sean knows 110% more than I do, but I don't think there's much in it for Waterford to be, they have a good team, and I mean, I think if you go back to last Monday's game, the sending off, Richard Taylor, it wasn't a sending off for a start anyway, and Waterford aren't, they're not by any stretch of the imagination miles behind Galway and Cork City. There's no, they're a fine side. So, do they need? I don't know. Do they need, a lot more players, a lot better quality players? When I think they are a very good side anyway. But I suppose, look, as I said, I don't know what's going on there with the financial situation, but as long as a club is able to bring in, financial muscle, as Sean said, and they're going about it the right way, it only bodes for good and positive situation for the club in the future.
Cool, guys. Thanks very much. Lastly, I'd like to wish all the first division clubs best of luck in the FEI Cup this weekend. So Cork, I know, are going to Derry, tough game, and Galway home to UCD, and Wexford against Dundalk. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. Apologies. So guys, thanks for watching. Hit the bell notification. Let us know in the comments what you think of the Waterford takeover and a couple of the results of the weekend. Gavin, thanks very much. Sean, thanks very much. We'll see you next week.
Pray for the Eurovision.